Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. We have Donato Esta with us. That's Don Hutchison's new name.
Middle name's Visa.
No, he hasn't got one.
Donato, what Visa Esta?
We've got Shaka Hislop and Craig Burley as well, who is not anytime going to be playing polo. Not even if Stevie Nicol does. You're not a fan of polo?
Yeah, I love it.
Tell us the story.
Well, there's not much of a story.
And it's funny though.
My wife asked me to go to the polo in Farmington Valley somewhere, and I shot it down in flames immediately. And she went, "Oh, what about if Stephen goes?"
Is that his posh polo name?
Yeah. I went, "What do you mean, Stevie?" I said, "Well, Stephen might go, but Stevie won't go. He's no chance." So she was going, my missus that is, to the polo with Eleanor, Stevie's wife, and they were trying to hook us in to go. I fixed my bayonet. I was in the back.
You look like a polo type, though.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
Well, what it was,
Polo player.
the United States were playing against Scotland.
Oh.
So my missus had all these Scottish flags and all that. Oh my God, it was the full ship.
I could.
Right.
You
So as soon as I saw the flags, come out of the car, I was like, I said, no. Anyway, it was United States versus Scotland in Farmington, of all places, and apparently according to them, the two of them, it was such a lovely day out, beautiful, and it wasn't just about the polo. It was just about the ambience.
Have you been at the polo, Don?
Came back half talking a lot of nonsense.
I would go though. I would go.
And he'd call somebody. He'd go and call somebody and tell them where he's at.
Dave.
He'd go,
And I said to my missus,
I'd phone Jody Morris and say, you've got to come and sign this horse.
I said to the other half, and was there actually any Scottish people on the Scottish team? She was like, no. But it was people with Scottish names. Yeah.
That doesn't count.
Can you imagine? I don't get all that. I know that's not quite the technique.
I was about to say, what are you doing there?
How does it go?
Aren't them boys multi-millionaires though and superstars? The top polo players, like the French and the Argentinian boys. They're like superstars, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm getting the feeling that wasn't those boys that were in the Farmington Valley.
Yeah,
it was just it was the hoofers.
Okay.
Anyway, so I never went.
You never went? No.
Polo.
No, it's nice to try something new. Okay, first question tonight. I'm just checking it is the first question because I think there might have been some changes. Yes, who will finish higher in the league next season? Arsenal, Liverpool or Manchester United?
Did you see the show the other day? I don't want to put anybody in a position.
Liverpool.
Hey, the two people that played for Liverpool, Nicol and Hutchison.
Well, no.
They've just absolutely kiboshed. Nicol was at it the other night. Well, actually, as soon as they signed Alexis McAllister, one player, that was it. Oh, that was it. That was it. Rocket, taking off. Like a rocket, Liverpool. I mean, those two have got Arsenal down the Swanee. I used that word again. Down the drain. Before
Who was one of the form sides? Who was one of the form sides the last 2 months of the season?
Who was the best side last year? Arsenal or Liverpool?
Oh, no. Arsenal.
Right, okay. Arsenal who have made 3 big signings, including arguably the most sought after midfielder in English football. Football. Right.
But what have Liverpool done? Liverpool have added.
Well, I know what Liverpool have done. Liverpool still have the problems that they had last year. Stevie mentioned it yesterday. 50 goals or so they lost. And yet you pair the Liverpool.
Hold on. You're looking at prime Trent Alexander-Arnold going into midfield potentially, whose numbers.
Who's going to play right back?
Joe Gomez. Play Joe Gomez at right back.
Tell you what, these two.
You've got Szoboszlai who's going to. No,
but
it's
Stevie.
You know, 50
No,
bet coming on.
I'm a new Craig. I'm not saying it because Liverpool are on that list and because I played for them. I genuinely think, well, Mo Salah. I'm not sure on Darwin Núñez. I still think there's a player in there, but I'm not sure. Diaz is back. Gakpo looks a real good signing. McAllister's going to get at least 10 goals a season. You'd like to think Szoboszlai would get 10 goals a season, and Liverpool's midfield players over the years have never ever scored goals. Van Alden only got probably 4 or 5. Fabinho never scored. Henderson never scored. They were there to service the front men. So if they can start the season well, I think they'll do okay. I think they'll do well.
Oh, yeah, I'm not suggesting they'll not do well. I'm just amazed that former Liverpool players have got them.
Well, have you got them above Man U?
Well, yeah, but when we did our table, I was really put it one way. When we did our table, I was expecting Man United to go out and get a Harry Kane type player. If they don't do that, they won't finish above them. If they do it, it's probably not going to happen. If United bring in Harry Kane, I think they could probably push the big boys a lot of the way.
Why?
If they don't, they can't.
Why did you do the table and not the ESPN FC Top 100?
Because I was asked to do the table. I wasn't asked to do the FC 100. Why are people picking on me? I've got a thin skin.
Okay. Do the guys remember the first time they faced an interview, and how did that go, Shaka?
Oh, no, I don't remember.
Cool as a cucumber.
It might have been Martin Tyler, early 90s, Manor Ground, Oxford, FA Cup, third round, I think it was. John Spencer scored, I scored, and I'm going to say it was on TV for highlights, because I think it was all it was then. And I think it was Martin doing the interviews, and I think that might have been one of my first. And I remember the jacket I was wearing, it was an absolute monster. I mean,
Some things don't change.
I had a black jacket and a white t-shirt on. It was an absolute monstrosity. I was wearing.
Why was it
I can
so
just
bad?
remember it looked like straw. Because it was cheap, because I didn't have any money.
What was it, like a tweed effect? Or
Yeah,
something,
but
right?
thick, horrible. I mean, like, horrible. But you're very naive in those, not dress-wise,
Right.
when you're being interviewed.
We need to find it. What about you, Don? Not the jacket, the interview.
No, I would imagine my press conference signing for Liverpool. I'd imagine a young lad going from Hartlepool United, bottom of League Two, 4th division at the time, going and signing for Liverpool and trying to sit there in front of Kenny Dalglish and like the size of Liverpool Football Club, like a 18-year-old, trying to form some sort of words and a decent sentence, sweating.
You're still doing that, Don?
Yeah, impossible. Impossible.
Do you think, is it impossible for you and Nico to get through a whole show without mentioning the word Liverpool? I'm just wondering.
Of course.
Don, it's not impossible. It's not possible.
Not unusual.
Don, it's not possible to get through an extra time when you're on it without a percentage question. So here's the latest offering. Obligatory percentage question for Don. Percentage chance Kane stays at Spurs this season.
I'm going to say a 90% chance he stays at Spurs. Yeah. I played in a charity golf game today, and I was chatting to a few players, and I strongly think, and there was 1 or 2 boys that agreed, that he'll stay at Tottenham for 1 more year, and then he'll go on a free transfer. And he brings Man City in, he brings Liverpool in, he brings Barcelona in, he brings Real Madrid. They would all take him. I don't want to hear any nonsense about where does he fit in at Man City if they've got Haaland. Pep would make sure Harry Kane fits in at Man City on a free transfer. So it makes no sense for him to move on. So I would say a 90.
So I'm going to be one of those idiots then.
No, Craig, come on. He plays Alvarez. He plays Alvarez and Haaland. You just play Kane and Haaland.
Not very often. Where's Lewandowski going at Barcelona?
Where's he going?
Is he retiring? I know he's a bit older.
No, what I'm saying is I think on a free transfer, everyone takes him. Everyone. So why would you move? Why would you move this summer?
Well, I don't think everyone takes him. I don't think people are going to. I don't think people are going to fill up the salary with 2 strikers that are, both front line, top end.
Oh, Pep takes him. Craig, Pep takes him.
Well, maybe if he
Man
thinks he's-
U take him. Everyone does. Everyone does on a free.
Not
If he
you've got
stays at
somebody.
Tottenham, he can get 30 goals closer to Shearer's record, and then go on a free transfer.
Oh, that's a giant bore. If he stays at Tottenham another year, I'll tell you what he's going to be. He's going to be 30 at the end of July. He's going to be 31, obviously, at the end of next July. Doesn't take a lot of mass to work that one out.
Wow,
And I'd imagine 32 the following July. But, you know, it's I don't know. I mean,
You stay, man. You've got to stay and just go on a free.
Listen, I've got what's the percentage chance of immigration letting you into this country?
Well, I'm coming. My
I
flight's
can't wait
up.
to have done here.
If they let me in, they let me in.
50-50?
I didn't even know. I didn't even know today until Pete told me I'm commentating on a game when I'm there. Didn't even know
wow.
this.
You've got to be put
Man
to work
United
once you're
Lyon.
here, Don. You don't just get to sit in your room.
We like to throw you these curveballs to test you.
Yep.
It's all right.
No, we're looking forward to having you here, Don. Okay, guys, did you ever sign a player contract based purely on money alone? If you were coming near the end of your playing career now and you were offered a Saudi contract, would you jump at it? I asked you this one, haven't I?
Have you?
I think you were at home the other day and I think you and Stevie were like, where do I say?
Yeah. Come to the end of my career on that kind of money? Oh, yeah.
Did you ever sign on money alone?
No, when we were playing, that wasn't a consideration.
I moved to Celtic to play regular, and I moved to Derby for Jim Smith because of the politics at Celtic had changed with Fergus McCann having sold the club and all the directors changed and the management. And those were football decisions. But I even if I was 25, Saudi Arabia offered me, or somebody offered me that kind of crazy money, go for a couple of years, and then come back. Why not? Why not?
Don?
I don't blame them for going to Saudi. Like I didn't blame the players for going to China a few years ago. I mean, that you're changing not so much the players' lifestyles. I think you're changing you're changing your kids, you're changing your grandkids. Everyone, you know, you've got to look after yourself. It's a short career. Now, listen, if you've got 100 million quid in the bank, it doesn't matter if you've got 100 million or 105 or 110. You've still got to play top level football. But I wouldn't knock the players for doing it.
Who was the most demanding manager Don, Craig and Shaka ever worked with as players?
Most demanding in what way? Question. I'll probably say Leo Benaka with national team. Lovely Benaka.
And what type of demanding was that then?
In how he wanted the team to play, but then also everything off the field as well. There, you know, and I guess it's different with a national team because it's together for a shorter period, but everything had to be on point, from your timekeeping to everybody wearing the same outfits of you know, around the hotel or whatever it may be. Everything had to be kind of almost regimented, and it worked. We needed it.
I don't think any of them really were demanding, to be honest. I mean, what's demanding? I mean, Glenn Hoddle had standards, and that was the standards that eventually took him to the England job. But that was changing the mentality and getting reflexologists in and dietitians, which was all new in the sort of 93, 94 period. I think he was demanding in a sense that, but not in a bad way, that he wanted standards to be better but he almost got frustrated, Glenn, when players couldn't do what he did. And that's not always a good trait for a manager because, you know, players not necessarily can do what you could do. He was certainly one of the best passers with the ball in English football. When he was at Spurs, there's no doubt about that. And when others couldn't reach those standards, he got a little frustrated. So that was kind of demanding, but not demanding in a sort of Guardiola side of the pitch, sort of always just jumping up and down. Just a different type, but no, not anything that put you under a lot of pressure.
I think for the most part, if you're playing at that level, it's quite demanding of yourself. You know, you set yourself certain standards, you have to maintain them, otherwise you'll quickly be out, and you realise that soon enough. So sometimes it's not necessarily the manager who's the most demanding. That comes with territory.
Does anyone stand out to you, Don?
Not really. I wouldn't say demanding, but Graham Souness was great to play for, Liverpool manager. You know, such a legendary player, and he came down from Rangers, and he wanted to try and change the culture at Liverpool. Wanted to try and, you know, find out from the older boys. Stevie was there when I was there, and I think Graham found it hard because a lot of the guys that was probably there, like Steve McMahon and Ian Rush and John Barnes, I would imagine that Graham sort of played with one or two, I think. But I think he tried to change the culture, and he wanted young boys in, and one of the best managers I've ever played for. Demanding, yeah, because he was a winner. But to be honest, I think the lads would probably say I played under Peter Reid, and they would say different names. They all were demanding because they wanted to do well. And as Shaka said, you tried to be demanding of yourself and ask questions of yourself. But brilliant manager to play for. Like, you know, just really honest. I was telling one of the lads who I played golf with today, you know, what he was like, and it was like you never needed a cuddle, you never needed Souness to tell you you'd done well. He'd just walk past you, give you a little tap on the shoulder, bam, bam. And then that was it. You knew you'd done him proud, and you knew you'd done him well.
Jim Smith was brilliant. It wasn't so much demanding, the bald eagle. Jim at Derby, if we had this room called the Pro Zone room, and even though he was very much old school, he was into all the data and all that sort of stuff. And we had these reclinable chairs in this Pro Zone room at the training ground, and they were like they vibrated. They were like massage chairs. I thought they were the biggest load of nonsense going, waste of time, but we used to go in there certain days, and particularly on a Monday if we'd been beaten on a Saturday, and we'd go in after training, and then Jim would come in, and he'd go up the front, almost onto this stage, and we'd all be sat, and just so happened my chair was quite close to the back, so I could shout, and he used to come in, and then he'd go on a rant about how, because we'd have been horrible on the Saturday. And I remember he used to get up on the stage. I don't know why he used to say this, but he used to come up almost after every defeat, and he'd go, "You're all a bunch of moral cowards." "You're all a bunch of moral cowards, the lot of yous." So then I used to go, because I'd be like, "That's a sweeping brush." So I used to shout back. I used to start shouting back at him, and it'd be a back and forth, right? But moral cowards, you know, because we got beat. And it was, looking back now, I just thought, that was just Jim, you know. So all these managers are different, but the young lads used to go in. They used to be like, the young lads would go in like Seth Johnson, Rory Delap, Danny Higginbottom. They'd go in, they'd be panicking, you know, in case he started picking on them, and he'd be shouting at everybody, and you know, like, be sitting up the back, I'd be sitting up the back of him, "Sit down, you old git," and I'm giving it all that, "Sit down!" And he'd be shouting. Some managers, all managers are different, man. But it was funny. I need to tell you to go and see Bill Basic.
Bill Basic.
He brought Bill Basic in, who was, what would you call Bill?
It's like a mentality coach.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a sort of, oh, no. I never felt it was for me. But my God, there was some of our players, and Jim himself. Jim Smith had to go and see Bill Basic more than any of the players. But Bill he brought Bill in. And
Stay in the green, that's what he used to say.
So?
Stay in the green.
Bill, Jim, you know, people talk about all these new coaches. We're talking about Derby County. Okay, years and years and years ago, Derby County were the champions of England and blah, blah, blah. But we're talking about a Premier League team that was fighting to stay up. We're talking about a manager who was back then in his 60s, he's no longer with us. And he already had all this sports psychologist, you know, Pro Zone data on our performances. And we're talking 99 here. You know, come in and analyse, you know, how far you ran and who did this and, you know, whether you agreed with these chairs or not and all. But he was doing all that. You know, and people are very quick to say, "Oh, this guy, old school, blah, blah, blah." Some of these guys were trying to get involved in this a long, long time ago. I mean, they were, you know, these guys weren't just old school, got a cigarette, glass of wine, screaming at the players all the time. There was a lot more to it than that, to be fair. Never helped us on the field. Never helped us, but, you know.
Okay, next question. I remember watching Tim Sherwood talk about the time Zinedine Zidane came to Blackburn's training ground for a potential transfer just prior to the 95-96 season. Do any of you have memories of a well-known player visiting one of your clubs for a transfer which never materialised?
Yeah, George Weah's cousin
Oh, dear.
came to Chelsea for a trial, and it became crystal clear relatively early on that this man was A, not George Weah's cousin, and B, not suitable for that standard of football. Boys are all going like that. And the reason being, because Glenn at the time had played with George Weah at Monaco. And I might be getting this all wrong, but Glenn had taken a phone call who he thought it had been from George Weah or somebody. Can you help this guy out? My young family member. So Glenn being Glenn, well, yeah, it's around the training ground, we'll give him a trial. Guy came down, was falling over the ball all over the place. I believe ended up at Southampton. Is that right, Don?
I remember.
And was signed.
Souness was the manager. Yeah.
Yeah. Did he sign him?
No, I think he. I don't know what. I can't remember the ins and outs of the story, but I think he sort of got duped into signing him, played him. I think he brought him off the bench for like half an hour, and then that was quickly him. Half an hour gone.
Anyone stand out in that?
I heard a great thing with Souness the other day, and when he was manager at Southampton, it was Matt Elliott, my former Scotland teammate, who was playing for. He did play for Leicester most of his career, but it was prior to Matt going to Leicester. He was going to go to Leicester or going to go to Southampton, and Martin O'Neill was desperate to sign him, had met him and all that, and he'd said to Martin and John Robertson, listen, I really think I'm going to come to Leicester, but I owe it to Graham Souness to travel down to the south coast and talk to him because he's asked me to do so. This is Matty talking on the podcast. He said, so Martin and that were like, oh, but really like to sign for us. He'd like, I'm probably going to sign for you, but I need to give respect to Graham Souness, so I'm going to go down to Southampton. So he drove down to Southampton, and Souness was on his own in this little porter cabinet at training ground. He said, I walked in, and he went, Souness said to him, don't sign for us. He said, I won't sign for us. He said, don't sign for us. He said, they're not bothered. He said, look, the chairman, the chief executive, he said, there's nobody even here. He said, so don't sign for us, sign for somebody else. So Matty went, I'm sort of paraphrasing, oh, all right then. So he went off and signed for Leicester. And somebody said to him, what happened to Souness? He went, he was sacked at Southampton a week later. So he said, he did me. He did me a huge favour. He basically said, don't come here. They're not invested in the club. They're not invested in me. Go to Leicester. That's actually doing a player a bit of a favour. And Matty went to Leicester and had a great career there. But, you know, that just shows you how it could all have been so different.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Don't come all the way. He said, but I did drive all the way to Southampton just for him to say, don't come here. So, but, you know, these kind of stories.
That's straight from the horse's mouth, though, so,
Yeah. And he went to Leicester and
the
other side of that, because I don't want to keep you, when Martin moved to Celtic, Martin O'Neill and manager, he wanted to take Matt there. So Matt said to him, his agent, listen, Martin wants me to go to Celtic, he knows me from Leicester. So he says, put some silly money on the table. Just ask for silly money, right? So the agents sent this thing to Martin O'Neill at Celtic. So Martin O'Neill said to Matt Elliott, be in this pub at this time and I'm going to ring you, because he had terrible phone coverage in Leicestershire. So Matty's in this pub, phone rings. Matt said, I let it ring a few times not to be too keen. He said, and I picked the phone up. And this Irish voice went, am I speaking to Zinedine Zidane? Matt Elliott went, maybe I asked for too much. Am I speaking to Zinedine Zidane? Because he'd asked for
because
he blamed it on his agent. He went, I'll blame it on my agent. It was funny. You should listen to these podcasts, you know.
Is that the show that you and Stevie are listening to?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
With Matt. Well, I listened to Matt because we were teammates, and I was just intrigued by some of the stories. You thought I listened to Craig Hignett, former Middlesbrough, Aberdeen, and others, and some of these guys regaling some of the stories from that era are actually quite funny. It was a fun time to be played.
Oh, it was.
And I'm not sure. I'm sure you do get these stories now, but some of those ones are quite funny actually.
We'll share it on our Twitter feeds or our threads, right?
Oh,
What's this threads thing? I went to makeup today and somebody said, "Oh, have you joined Threads?"
Instagram's competitor. I just signed up.
Yes. Shaka.
You have?
Yeah, ESPNFC are there.
Are they?
We're all there, Craig. Come and join us.
I've signed
Oh,
up.
Not like the polo.
I haven't done anything.
What do you mean we're all there?
We're all signing
We're all
up.
threading. Is that what we do?
Okay, last two questions.
So say the same thing I said to my missus. It's a no and it's a no.
We're going to get you there. Dan's not there yet either.
Twitter, that's enough. I post photos of dogs, that's enough.
Well, you could be sharing to even more people on Thread.
I'm good.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if I'm good, but I'm all right.
For Don, rank the supporters of your former clubs from best to worst. Everton, West Ham, Sheffield United, Liverpool, Millwall.
Oh, that's
Wow.
awful.
Easy
That's
the worst. Easy the worst. Millwall by a country mile. 'Cause I made the mistake of going to Millwall off the back of West Ham. So that wasn't a good move. How can I get involved there? How can I get involved? I can't get involved there. Who sent that? It's a rascal question, that is.
Don Hutchison sent it.
I'm not
Doesn't
getting
want to
involved.
upset.
I'm going to say easily the worst. Millwall. They are terrible.
I can understand that.
They
You
don't
don't want to
care.
upset fans and people get angry with you. It's not. Did you see the tragic news about the Millwall
Yeah,
owner? The American owner unfortunately got killed
car crash.
yesterday. So that
Up
was
in Massachusetts.
yeah, not good news. But sorry, but I just heard that yesterday. I was talking.
Obviously, we send our thoughts and condolences out to his family and friends. Last question for Craig. How desperate are you for your vacation?
What vacation?
You don't have a vacation coming?
I don't know.
Ooh.
You don't have any time off?
No, well, I don't know.
Craig's here for your transfer window, you know. He loves it. He loves it.
To be honest with you, the season for me just gets in the way of the actual football season gets in the way of me gearing up for the end of season transfer talk. I'm like
Favourite time of the year?
I just want to get all that Champions League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Bundesliga, La Liga, all the stuff we've got. Just get it, and I can't wait. I'm sitting. I'm like a what's the phrase?
Cold
I have
spring.
no idea where you're going with this.
Come up with something.
Cold
help me.
spring.
There you
Cold
go.
spring. All right, I'll go with that, Don.
That's
Like a
good one.
rattlesnake.
What?
Snake.
So I'm ready. I'm ready for the transfer talk. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if there's vacation on the. On
You're
the
not going
horizon.
on vacation?
I'm not.
I'll have your vacation. Since you don't want it, I'll
I
have it.
didn't say I don't want it. I'm not going anywhere, no.
Right?
But you know, no.
I'll have
You've
it.
heard, you don't listen to rumours.
Okay.
I'll have it.
Don's coming over here to see us all very soon. We've got to go.
We've got to go. It's been another
go.
long one.
It's been-
34 minutes the other night.
Don't blame me. We'll see you tomorrow. A long time.